I am Betty Michelle, and I am beyond excited to have you join me for my podcast, The Purpose Talk, your weekly dose of inspiration, biblical truths, practical guidance, and heartfelt conversations, empowering you to live a life of purpose, creating the life you've always dreamed of. Each week, you'll join me to embark on a journey towards discovering your purpose, truly uncovering the unique gifts and talents that define you, and gaining clarity on the direction your life is meant to take. We will embark on a journey towards pursuing your dream, following the passions that ignite your soul, and turning your aspirations into reality with unwavering determination. Taking bold steps to live out your true calling and transforming your intentions into impactful actions that lead you to a fulfilling and purpose-driven life. So join me every week on this journey to pursue purpose. It's one worth taking. Let's go.
Hey, welcome back to The Purpose Talk, where we explore the intersection of passion, purpose, and daily living. Today's episode is called Finding Balance, Harmonizing Purpose in Personal and Professional Life. We'll uncover if work-life balance is possible while pursuing your purpose and how to create a life that harmonizes personal fulfillment and professional success. I'll share client stories, offer thought-provoking questions, biblical truths, and actionable tips backed by research. By the end, my friend, you'll be inspired to create a life of balance and authenticity, where you thrive in both your personal and professional life. So let's dive into this journey. We will dive into discover. Is it possible to maintain work-life balance while pursuing your purpose? How do we integrate purpose into career choices and daily responsibility? And acting. What are the strategies for balancing personal fulfillment with professional commitments? Now, before we jump in, I want to be honest with you all. I'm feeling a bit under the weather with my sinuses acting up, but I did not want to miss the chance to connect with you this week, so I'm going to push through and apologize in advance if I sound a little off. Really, as if a train is like tumbling over me, right? But I know how important this topic is for you and me, and I wanted to share it with you this week. We're going to champion through it together, and I'm excited to keep the momentum going. So what is the big question that many of us wrestle with? Can we really live a life where personal fulfillment and professional success exist in harmony? Now, according to Jane Kingsford, balance is not something you find, it's something you create. So let's pause here to reflect on what balance truly means. Now, by definition, balance is defined as a condition in which different elements are in the correct proportions. It's not about giving equal time to everything, but ensuring that the things that matter most get the attention they deserve. You hear that? It's not about giving equal time to everything. There's no way possible, right? But it is about ensuring that the things that matter most get the attention they deserve. Balance is important because without it, we lose focus, joy, and peace. All of these things individually are important, and collectively, they create the balance that so many of us desire. You see, it's easy to be pulled in different directions by work, family, personal goals, and your professional responsibilities, while feeling like we're falling apart at everything. Hey, my hand is raised in guilt. Don't we seem to think that we can do it all, but at the same time feel like everything is falling apart? But when we find balance, it doesn't mean everything gets an equal amount of time. It means we prioritize what gives us purpose and joy. You see, I want you all to hear it from one of my clients who helped me to come to some really good realizations about this here topic, finding harmony and balance. My client is a busy mom of two who also works as a marketing manager. She has repeatedly stated to me that for years, she feels like she is constantly running on empty, trying to juggle her job, her family, and her personal dreams. And I know many of you can relate, right? She was out of balance, always putting her career first and leaving her personal life in the back seat. But through our work together, she realized that balance is possible, and it starts with prioritizing what matters most to her. Her family and her health were the two things she identified that she needed to prioritize without sacrificing her career. Our time together helped us come to several realizations that I want to share with you all today. Let's get into it. 1. Balance requires intentionality. My client's journey highlighted that balance doesn't happen by accident. It requires a conscious decision to prioritize what truly matters daily. Many people think that balance is simply about managing time, but that is so far from the truth. It's about managing energy and focus on the things that align with your values and your purpose. It's important for you to see that you have the power to choose what you focus on each day. You have to be encouraged to reflect on what values most and to make those things a priority in your daily lives. Number 2, purpose can't thrive in burnout. Oh my goodness. My client's emotional and physical burnout teaches us that we're overwhelmed and stretched way too thin. You can't fully pursue and even recognize the purpose in the things that you are doing if burnout clouds clarity, drains energy, and creates disconnect from what truly brings you joy and fulfillment. You see, it's important to understand that pursuing your purpose is about sustainability. Pushing beyond healthy limits may result in short-term gains, but long-term fulfillment comes from nurturing your well-being and creating a space to grow. Who really wants the reward for the most burnt out person of the year? What do you gain from being burned out? Let's think about that. What accolades, what fulfillment, what joy, what rewards do you get from being the most burned out person? So why is it that we choose to thrive in burnout? I tell you right now, it is so important to understand sustainability. And that starts with understanding that it is a marathon and not a sprint. And you must prioritize the things that matter most to get out of burnout. You cannot stay there, my friend. You simply cannot thrive there. So let's keep going. Number 3, small shifts lead to big changes. My client didn't need to overhaul her entire life to find balance. Simple changes like setting boundaries at work, carving out intentional time for her family, and practicing self-care made a huge difference in how she felt and lived her life daily. You see, it's easy to often feel overwhelmed when you think balance requires drastic life changes. Make small and manageable shifts first. The cumulative effect of these changes can lead to the larger transformation you desire. Number 4, work and life don't have to compete. Let me say it again. Work and life don't have to compete. And oftentimes, that's what we live in. They are constantly competing with each other and combating because they cannot find balance together. But I'm here to tell you that you are not the only one who believes this. My client's initial belief was that her professional success required her to sacrifice her personal life. No, 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 my friend. We are moving past that thought. You do not have to choose between being a good mom and wife or advancing in your career. You do not have to choose between working hard to provide as a husband and a father and having to sacrifice advancing in your career. Once you learn how to integrate purpose into both, you find harmony in your responsibilities. You see, personal fulfillment and professional success can coexist. It's about aligning your professional life with a deeper sense of purpose and creating boundaries that allow you to excel in both areas. And we'll dive into that later in the show. Number 5, boundaries are empowering, not restrictive. I helped my client, and she in return helped me to see this realization. She was afraid that setting boundaries at work would limit her potential for career advancement, so she didn't set boundaries. She said yes often, afraid to say no, but I helped her to quickly discover that boundaries actually give you freedom. It gives you more freedom to do the things that you need to do and to prioritize what matters most. By defining what she was willing to commit to, she regained control over her time and energy. And that is an area that we need to look at most. Do I have boundaries at work? What does it sound like to ask for help when I need it? How do I feel when I say, no, I can't take this extra thing on? It is so crazy, but I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was explaining to me how he has been at this work for 15 years, and other people in his career have been there longer, have advanced, but they seem to be the people that are not called on the most. And I laughed with him and said, hard work and dedication is rewarded with more hard work. They just pile the task on because you can handle it. And that is the craziest thing, but it is absolutely true. When you show up and handle your responsibilities, do what you are supposed to do, show out in areas that you are an expert in, save the company money and time by being able to internally do some things that is required to be done, it's simply rewarded with, hey, what do you think about being on this project? Can you take on this? Oh, I've added this to your responsibility. And you find yourself looking at your job description and saying, where is it written on my job description that I need to be doing these things, that I should be doing these things, that these things were required of me when I took the job? It's so funny because hard work is rewarded with more work. They do not call on the people who have more years, more seniority. They do not call on the people who seem to know how to do it but can't get it done timely. They call on you and they pull on you. And when you do it well, they give you more to do. And for that, I say, absolutely not. We have to get in a place where we understand that it is empowering to have boundaries, not restrictive. It is okay to say no at your job. In fact, I encourage you to try it today, especially if you're listening on your way to work. What does it sound like to say no and not add on more responsibility that you can't handle? Because other things suffer. Your family, your self-care, your mental health. So that's my spiel, okay? You don't need to be rewarded with more hard work. You simply need to set some boundaries at work. Now let's dive into the last realization. Balance is a lifelong practice. My client's progress showed me that balance is not a destination. It is a continuous journey. Life will always present new challenges and demands, but the key is maintaining adaptability and commitment to recalibrating whenever things feel out of sync. The biggest takeaway here is that balance isn't static. You have to regularly check in with yourself and adjust your priorities as life changes. And life will change. This helps you from falling back into old patterns of imbalance when new pressures arise. My client's transformation is proof that balance isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you create with intention. And I want us to take the time to look at this. It's something you create with intention. We can see the same tension in the story of Martha and Mary in Luke 10:38 through 42. I'm sure many of you know this biblical story. Martha was busy with all the preparation while her sister Mary sat at Jesus' feet, listening to his teaching. Martha, frustrated, asked Jesus to tell Mary to help her, but Jesus gently reminded her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. And there you have it, my friend. In this story, Martha's busyness represents how we often get caught up in the tasks and duties of life while missing out on the opportunities for deeper purpose. Jesus' words are a reminder to focus on what truly matters, finding balance between doing and being, between task and connection. Ask yourself, are the things keeping me busy truly aligned with my purpose? Or are they distractions pulling me away from what really matters? I had to take the time to research the percentage of people that are out of balance or overwhelmed with responsibilities or burnout, right? I knew it would not be hard to find any of that research because right now we're in a place where society tells us this is normal, especially for millennials like myself. And I'm here to tell you it is not. In fact, the study by Gallup showed that 67% of full-time employees feel that they are burnt out at work. Another study from the American Psychological Association shows that nearly 50% of Americans report feeling constantly stressed about managing their work-life balance. These stats are a clear indication that most people are out of harmony with themselves, constantly in a state of imbalance. But I'm guessing that this comes as no surprise to you, and it definitely did not come as a surprise to me. We are seriously living during a time where people desire to slow down. We are constantly searching for any and every opportunity to find balance and harmony within ourselves and everything around us. But for some of us, it seems or feels so out of reach. So, how can you proactively tell if you're out of balance? That's where we start. How do I know when I'm out of balance? And then what do I do about it? Here are 3 ways to identify when you're not functioning in harmony. Emotional burnout. If you're constantly feeling exhausted or depleted, both mentally and physically, it's a red sign that something is out of sync. Burnout is often the result of overcommitting to work without giving yourself time to recharge or connect with loved ones. 2, neglect of personal health or relationships. When work becomes your sole focus, you may notice a decline in your physical and mental health and relationships. Skipping meals, losing sleep, or missing family moments are all signs that you've sacrificed personal well-being for professional obligations. And I definitely know that it is present for most of us. So what do you do about it? That's a question we will get into next. And lastly, lack of joy or fulfillment. This might be the biggest sign. If you've lost the spark of joy in your daily activities, it's a clear sign that your purpose is being overshadowed by tasks that don't fulfill you. You might feel like you're just going through the motions rather than living with intention. Let's quickly go back to my client's story. When she came to me, she was emotionally drained, her health was suffering, and her relationships were strained. She had fallen into the trap of believing that success at work meant neglecting her personal life. But she soon realized that success doesn't have to come at the cost of her joy and her family. She identified signs of imbalance, and together we worked on ways to prioritize her health, her family time, and her professional goals in a way that felt harmonious. And guess what? I want that for you too. So much so that I put it on the Purpose Talk podcast for us to explore together. You see, seriously, who doesn't want to wake up every morning feeling like they've got it? That perfect blend of being present with family, crushing it at work, and still finding time to breathe, laugh, and maybe even dance a little. I'm here to tell you that it's possible. I want you to experience the joy of coming home after a long day, putting your phone down, and really being there, laughing with your kids, enjoying dinner together, and maybe even planning that vacation you've been dreaming about. Yes, I'm talking about the life where you get to take spontaneous weekend trips or spend your Saturday mornings with a hot cup of coffee and reading your favorite book in peace, no interruptions. And let's not forget the professional side of things. I want you to go after your dreams without feeling like you're running on fumes. Pursuing your purpose shouldn't feel like a burden. It should energize you. That's the beauty of balance. You can be bold and courageous in your professional life without sacrificing your health, happiness, or sanity. Here's the thing. I know life can feel like an endless to-do list, and balance might seem like some magical unicorn that we're always chasing. But the truth is, it's possible. You don't have to choose between being a rock star at work or a present, joyful person at home. You can have both, and you deserve both. So buckle up because we're getting ready to dive into how you make this happen for you. Trust me, by the end of this episode, you'll feel inspired to take immediate action to make those small but powerful shifts that bring you closer to the life that feels, dare I say, harmonious. Let's make this personal. Here are 3 simple steps you can take today to start restoring balance in your life. Take inventory of your time. Write down how you're currently spending your time. Then identify what is aligned with your purpose and what is not. Start cutting off or reducing activities that don't align with your values. It's that simple. Cut it off. Remove it. Number 2, set clear boundaries. Whether it's with work or personal commitments, learn to say no to things that don't serve your greater purpose. Protect your time and what matters most. If it does not serve you, if it does not pour back into your cup, simply say no. Set the boundary, my friend. And lastly, daily intentionality. Each morning, ask yourself, what can I do today that brings me closer to my purpose and closer to balance? It could be spending 30 minutes with your family, taking a walk in nature, or setting aside time for prayer or meditation. You can give yourself 30 minutes at the start of the day so that you don't try to find 30 minutes at the end of the day when you're depleted. Baby, you have to wake up and pour into yourself. The first 30 minutes of your day should be for you. And then everyone and everything gets the remainder of your time. Give yourself the first 30 minutes. You deserve it. Now, let's jump into pursuing purpose in your professional life. Many people think that pursuing purpose means you have to quit your 9 to 5, ditch the 9 to 5 grind, or make some radical life-altering change. But here's the truth. It doesn't have to be that dramatic. In fact, purpose can be woven into your everyday responsibilities. It's often about making small, intentional shifts that align your work with your values and passions. And let's be real, let's just keep it 100. Everybody cannot ditch the 9 to 5 grind. There are too many responsibilities and too many people that are depending on us to be the provider and to secure the finances. So everyone cannot make dramatic changes all at once. It has to be slow, but most important, it has to be intentional. So how do we identify if there is purpose in our current work, giving us time to create the plan for transition if that is what we desire? Before you even begin to dive into how to integrate purpose, first you have to figure out whether you're experiencing purpose in your work right now. Here are a few questions to help you assess. Does your work excite you or leave you feeling drained? If you wake up dreading the day ahead, it might be time to rethink how connected you are with what you're doing. You should not wake up and dread going to work. You should not get stomach pains on Sunday night when you lay down for bed thinking about what's ahead of you on Monday morning at your 9 to 5. That is a load of crap. Let's be real. That's anxiety. You shouldn't experience anxiety thinking about the job you have. So does your work excite you or leave you feeling drained? Number 2, ask yourself, Do you feel like your work matters? If the task you're doing feel mundane and disconnected from any larger mission or impact, you're likely missing that deep sense of purpose. If you feel like you have absolutely no impact from the work that you are pursuing every single day, the work doesn't matter to you. So why are you doing it? Most importantly, what needs to change about the work you're doing? So does your work matter? And then lastly, ask yourself, are you using your gifts and talent? When you're able to use your strengths and skills in your work, you're more likely to experience purpose. Your God-given gifts and talents are meant to be used, my friend. So are you using them in a way that fills you up, in a way that makes you feel purposeful? It's okay if you've answered no to some of these questions. The good news is that you can create purpose where you are right now. And I want us to spend time talking through how do you integrate purpose in your current career. You see, purpose isn't necessarily about what you're doing. It's often about how you do it and why. Let me break this down for us. How do you integrate purpose in your current career? Shift your perspective. Purpose can come from recognizing the impact you're making, no matter how small. You might not think your daily work matters, but consider this. Who benefits from what you do? Even if your role seems behind the scene, ask yourself how your work contributes to a larger mission. Every job has a purpose. Every season has a purpose. Every day is filled with purpose. It's simply about shifting your perspective to connect the task that you are doing to the bigger picture. But you have to be able to identify purpose in everything. Number 2, reframe your role. Think of your job as more than a paycheck. How can you bring your unique gifts and talents into your daily work? Whether it's bringing empathy into a customer service call or creative problem solving into a strategy meeting, your purpose shows up when you add what makes you special to the task at hand. And lastly, aligning your actions with your values. When your values align with your professional actions, even the simplest task can feel meaningful. If you value service, think about how you serve your colleagues, clients, or customers. If you value creativity, look for opportunities to integrate or problem solve differently. Because you can align your actions with your values and create purpose in your work. So I want you to think about those 3 things and how you can start to do that even today. Shift your perspective, reframe your role, and align your actions with your values. Let's dig into the biblical story of Nehemiah to draw this point home. You see, Nehemiah is a man who understood how to integrate purpose into his work, and not just in an obvious way, but in a deeply strategic and spiritual way. I like the story of Nehemiah for this very reason. You see, Nehemiah wasn't a prophet, a priest, or warrior. He was a cupbearer to the king, a job that may not have seemed glamorous or particularly aligned with a higher calling. Yet when he heard that the walls of Jerusalem were in ruins, his heart broke for his people and his homeland. Here's the gem. Nehemiah could have stayed in his cushy palace job, but he chose to step out of his comfort and take on a mission of rebuilding the wall of Jerusalem, a task that didn't seem like one he had to carry, but he decided that there was purpose in it. And he was very strategic. He didn't rush into it. He prayed, he planned, and he got the support of the king before he even laid a single brick. What's incredible about Nehemiah is that he integrated his professional skills, leadership, organization, strategy into his spiritual calling. And I'd like to even think that he may not have realized that it was a spiritual calling. You see, he just was moved. His heart broke for the people in his homeland. He was moved to do something. So I'm not even sure if he realized at the time it was a spiritual calling, but he definitely had the professional skills, leadership, organization, and strategy to pull this off. And then he combined his faith and purpose with his professional role. He had a higher purpose and he approached it differently. He led with determination, but he also knew how to delegate. Remember earlier I talked about saying no, finding ways to say no? How many of you are taking on more things because you do not know how to delegate? You see, Nehemiah teaches us the approach that he had was led by determination, but he also knew how to delegate. We're so determined to have our hands on so many different things that we forget to delegate, giving ourselves capacity. And this is a true way to set boundaries. Nehemiah had to involve others in the work, and despite the challenges and opposition, he had to stay focused on the mission. Many of us are so focused on the task at hand that we are not seeing the bigger picture. Even professionally, let me give it to you this way. You're so focused on the task at hand. You're so focused on getting it done. You don't have time to slow down and tell someone else how to do it, build someone else's capacity. So that leads to I can't delegate. I just have to do it myself. And then that leads to you're not focused on the bigger picture. Some of your work requires leadership, or God has you in a season right now of growing as a leader, but you can't let go of the daily ins and outs, the daily tasks that have you bound to the work at hand. But He's calling you to exercise leadership, organization, and strategy. He's calling you out of the doer into the big picture thinker, and your mindset has not shifted for what He's calling you to do. The story of Nehemiah tells us he didn't rush into it. He prayed, he planned, and he got the support of the king before he laid a single brick. And then he approached the work by integrating his professional skill. And part of that led to delegation and involving others. So then he built the capacity of others to do the work, the task at hand, while he stayed focused on the mission at hand. You see, the hidden gems of Nehemiah's story tells us purpose starts with compassion. Nehemiah's purpose was born out of compassion for his people. If you're looking for purpose in your work, start by asking yourself, what stirs your heart? What problems do you feel drawn to solve? That's often where your purpose begins. But more so, how can you build the capacity of others while you're solving these problems so you can free up your capacity for bigger? Nehemiah's story also teaches us that purpose requires planning. Nehemiah prayed for guidance, but he also had a detailed plan. In your professional life, purpose isn't just about passion. It's about putting structure and strategy around that passion so that it leads to real impact. Nehemiah's story tells us that purpose faces opposition. How many of you all want it to be easy? It just will not be, my friend. Nehemiah's efforts were met with ridicule and resistance, but he didn't give up. In your career, pursuing purpose may mean facing setbacks, criticism, or even self-doubt. Purpose requires persistence. You can't just give up and give in. You're going to face opposition. In fact, that's where God is growing your character most. And lastly, Nehemiah's story tells us that purpose builds community. Nehemiah didn't rebuild the wall alone. He rallied the people to work together. He built the capacity of the people by delegating and showing them what needed to be done. Purpose isn't an isolated mission. Your work can become more purposeful when you bring others into your vision and create a sense of shared mission. You have to free up your capacity to think bigger, to envision bigger. You have to focus on the bigger picture, the bigger mission at hand, so that you can lead and guide the people. Purpose builds community. Think about that for a moment. Purpose starts with compassion. Purpose requires planning. Purpose faces opposition, and purpose builds community. Nehemiah's story demonstrates that. So, what is the impact of purpose on job satisfaction? Studies show that employees who feel a strong sense of purpose in their work are more engaged, more productive, and more satisfied. I don't think any of us really need research to tell us this because when you feel a sense of purpose in anything, you're more engaged, you're more productive, and it brings on a sense of satisfaction. But hey, let's jump into it. In 2020, a study by Better Up showed that employees who feel purposeful in their work are more than 2 times as likely to stay at their company and report greater job satisfaction. Moreover, 9 out of 10 people are willing to earn less money if it means doing more meaningful work. I am living and breathing, and I am one of those 9. 9 out of 10 people are willing to earn less money if it means doing more meaningful work. That in itself is powerful. Finding meaning in what you do can drastically improve job satisfaction regardless of the role or industry. And some people are willing to do it if it means making less. Hello. So how can you start integrating purpose into your current job so that you feel this sense of satisfaction? 3 strategies for doing that. Reflect on your why. You have to start each day by asking yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Who benefits from my work today? By keeping your why in front of you, even the most routine task can take on new meaning. What is your why? Write it down, post it up, reflect on it daily. Number 2, set micro purpose goals. Not every day will feel like you're changing the world. There is so much chaos around us, so many responsibilities that we have to carry. I don't know that we want every day to feel like we're changing the world, but we do want to find purpose in our everyday routines, right? Sometimes we have to start with setting small goals that bring more purpose into our work. It may not feel like we're changing the world, but it does mean that we're making impact over time. For example, aim to help one person a day or to learn one new skill a week. These micro goals make each day purposeful and fulfilling. Lastly, infuse purpose into the mundane. Let's be real, not every task is exciting, but you can bring a spark to even the mundane. If you're passionate about connecting, make your meetings or conversations more personal. If you love creativity, find ways to add a creative twist to a project. You can bring who you are into what you do, transforming the ordinary into something meaningful. You see, you have to remember, purpose isn't some distant dream. It's right here in the everyday, waiting for you to grab hold of it. Like Nehemiah, you don't need to abandon where you are to find it. You can infuse it into your work, your daily tasks, and your interactions. You have to stay faithful, stay present, and watch how the seamlessly small shifts can lead to a life filled with deeper meaning and impact. Okay, so let's wrap up by talking about how to balance personal fulfillment with professional commitments. This is where things can get a bit tricky. Finding that sweet spot where you're not sacrificing one for the other, right? It's possible. Here's a quote that really drives this home. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. Now let's break that down. True fulfillment comes from living in alignment with your purpose. And that's where balance is found. We see this perfectly illustrated in the story of Daniel in the Bible. Daniel was an exceptional figure when it comes to balancing his personal fulfillments with his professional commitments. He held high-ranking positions in the Babylonian and Persian empires, but his faith and his personal values were never compromised. Here are 3 highlights from his story. He had unwavering commitment to his faith. Despite his busy professional role as an administrator and advisor to the king, Daniel never neglected his personal relationship with God. He prayed 3 times a day, even when a law was passed forbidding prayer. Daniel understood that his personal fulfillment came from staying connected to his core values, and he was willing to face the lion's den, y'all, to honor that commitment. He teaches us that no matter how demanding our professional life is, we should never abandon the practices that fill our souls. Number 2, there's wisdom in professional excellence. Daniel was promoted in his career because he stood out in his work ethic and wisdom, right? His ability to balance his professional role without compromising his integrity made him highly respected. Daniel shows us that personal fulfillment comes from doing your work well, not from external rewards, but because it's a reflection of who we are. He balanced his personal fulfillments with professional success by aligning both his faith and his values. And lastly, Daniel's story shows us that there is courage in the face of opposition. When Daniel faced opposition in his workplace, he didn't back down from his beliefs or his duties. He managed to maintain his position while staying true to his convictions. This courage shows us that personal fulfillment often requires standing firm in who we are, even when professional pressures push us in a different direction. Balancing both your professional fulfillments and your personal duties require boldness, and Daniel exemplifies how to do this with grace and faith. You see, Daniel's life is a powerful example of how personal fulfillment and professional success don't have to be at odds. By staying rooted in your values, honoring your commitments to yourself, and showing excellence in your work, you can find balance. And as the quote says, real success follows when you love what you do. Finding balance requires courage and intentionality. And as we wrap up with Daniel's story, I want to encourage you to be bold in creating a life that honors both your personal needs and professional aspirations. Studies show that setting clear boundaries between work and professional life leads to greater overall satisfaction and happiness, something we are all chasing. This is your chance to take action now by starting small, but starting today. Take 5 minutes immediately after listening to today's episode to just write down, what is the meaning of balance for you? What is the definition of balance? But also, what does it mean to be balanced? And be very specific. What does a balanced life look like in terms of the time for your family, work, and personal hobbies, and even your health? And if you have more time, go ahead and set a goal. Name the bold steps you can take this week to create harmony between your purpose, personal life, and professional commitments. Because it's possible, my friend, and I want that for you. I just want you to take the time that you need to get in tune with what you feel about balance, whether that's work-life balance, balancing your relationship, balancing just personal care for yourself, whatever the case may be, there's harmony in professional and personal life. They do not have to be at odds. They're actually friends. And when you prioritize finding balance, you become the best version of yourself. Thank you so much for being a champion with me today. As I work through all of these sinus problems to push out this episode, I do not take you all for granted. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of The Purpose Talk to explore finding balance, harmonizing purpose in personal and professional life. I'll leave you with, balance is not something that happens overnight. It's something you intentionally create. The key is recognizing that you don't have to sacrifice one for the other. It's about finding harmony in the chaos, prioritizing what matters, and living boldly in both your personal and professional life. Remember to be intentional, be courageous, and most importantly, honor both your purpose and your personal needs. You can have both, and you deserve both. Until next time, keep pursuing purpose. As always, stay blessed.